All right, we are in 11 lit honors, and we're going to look at the last chapter in the book, which is called Conclusion. And why don't we begin? Si, would you start for us? You should have the questions in front of you. I just gave them out. It's 250. I don't think we're going to read all of it. I think it's not necessary we do. Yeah, it's even too long. But anyway, not that long. 11 pages, but we're not. So would you just start?
To the sick, the doctors wisely recommend a change of air and scenery. Thank heaven, here is not all the world. The buckeye does not grow in New England, and the mockingbird is rarely heard here. The wild goose is more of a compilate than we.
Cosmopolite. He hangs around cities, I guess.
He breaks his fast in Canada, takes a luncheon in the Ohio, and plumes himself for the night in a southern bite. Even the bison, to some extent, keeps pace with the season, cropping the pastures of Colorado, only till a greener and sweeter grass awaits them by the Yellowstone. Yet we think that if railroad fences are pulled down and stone walls piled up on our farms, bounds are henceforth set to our lives and our fates decided. If you are chosen town clerk, forsooth, you cannot go to Tierra del Fuego this summer, but you may go to the land of infernal fire nevertheless. The universe is wider than our views are.
Question number one, what does he mean the universe is wider than our views are? Well, yes.
It's too big for our human minds to comprehend. It's too much for us to take in at one time.
Okay, I like that. Robbie?
There's like, I don't know, I guess it's sort of what I was gonna say. Not some great analogy, I guess, but like, basically there's like stuff we still don't even know about it, too.
Yeah. So we're too narrow-minded. We don't think broadly enough. We think smallly. We could add that. We would say that about God. Most people's view of God is so much smaller than He is. There too, we can't get our mind around God, but that's a mistake to think God is small. He's not. Ben, would you read just to the bottom of the page?
Yet we should oftener look over the tackle of our craft, like curious passengers, and not make the voyage like stupid sailors picking open. The other side of the globe is but the home of the correspondent. Our voyaging is only great circle sailing, and the doctors prescribe for diseases of the skin merely. One hastens to South Africa to chase the giraffe, but surely that is not the game he would be after. How long, pray, would a man find giraffes if he could? Snipes and woodcocks also made for various sport, but I trust it would not be nobler game to shoot oneself. Direct your eye right inward, and you'll find 1,000 regions in your mind. Yet undiscovered travel them, and be expert in all cosmography.
What is he good? What does he mean by that? That's question number two. We can travel outward and realize the world's bigger than we think, but what is he talking about traveling inward and looking inward? What does he say will be the benefit of that?
Direct.
What?
Well, are you talking about his quote?
Yeah.
It's basically, directly, it just says 1,000 regions in your mind, yet undiscovered, travel them. I don't know.
Yeah, in a way it's self-explanatory. Look inward and you'll find 1,000 regions. You could travel outward and find 1,000 regions in the world, or you could just stay where you are and travel inward and find 1,000 regions in your mind you've never thought of. Yeah.
Just sort of getting to understand what's in your mind. Saying find 1,000 regions in your mind, yet undiscovered. Travel to be expert in home cosmography.
Yeah.
Just understanding yourself and knowing what's in your head.
Yeah. Good. I think by regions he does mean thoughts. There are things. One thing I've noticed. I'd like to think I'm creative, and most of the time I'm not. But like if I'm into writing something that I have to write, I taught a class on, what do you call it, creative writing one year. And I was really creative that year. I was writing poems and stories with the class, and normally I would never be able to come up with it. It's almost like my imagination was freed by letting it be free. Right now, I'm too busy. I'm doing too many practical things to think and to see how many thoughts that I really had. So I think that's one of the things he's talking about. Let's switch the page, if you would. We're going to go to the bottom of page 252. So we're going to skip sections here. Robbie's going to read. We're going to read 2 more paragraphs. I think we can get in before we leave. So if you did read this one, and Tucker can read the one below it. You're going to start with, let's see. Well, you're going to start with I left the woods, right?
I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live. I could not spare any more time for that one.
That is the answer to number 3. That's why he left the woods. You can write it down. You can paraphrase it. Yeah.
What was it again? I didn't hear it.
It's the first line. It's the second line on page 252 at the bottom. I left the woods for as good a reason I went there, and here's the answer. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live and could not spare any more time for that. Basically, what is he saying is the reason he left.
He had more lives to live.
He had more things to do. Yeah, he just couldn't spend any more time doing this thing. And you can keep reading.
It is remarkable how easily and insensibly we fall into a particular route and make we keep track for ourselves. I have not lived there a week before my feet or a path from my door. To the pond side and through it is 5 or 6 years I have trod it. It is still quite distinct. It is true. I fear that others may have fallen into it, and so hope to keep it open. The surface of our earth is soft and impressible by the feet of men, and so the paths which the mind travels. How worn and dusty then must be the highways of the world. How deep the ruts of tradition and what is that word? Conformity. Conformity. I did not wish to take a cabin passage, but rather to go before the mast. Mast and on the deck of the world. There
And you can finish. Then keep.
I can't read. For there I could best see the moonlight amid the mountains. I do not wish to go below them.
He says here that he had been at Walden. Remember, he was there 2 years and 2 months. He'd been there a week, and he noticed that he went the same way every day to get to the pond. And like, if I hadn't assigned you seats, you would have found a seat, and you would sit in that seat for the rest of the year. Because that's your seat. That's where you're comfortable. It doesn't, you picked it or I picked it, doesn't matter. You feel comfortable because he's saying that's what happened at Walden. Here's a guy that's trying not to conform, and what does he do? He conforms to the path. It's just almost impossible not to conform. And then finally, if we can get this in, Tucker, this is question number 4. What he learned from his experience.
I learned this, at least by my experience, that if one thinks confidently the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected and common course. He will put something behind, passing invisible boundary powers. He will put new universal neoliberal laws will begin to establish themselves around him. Where the old laws
quickly, two last things. What did he learn? Yeah, probably.
Well, it's just number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so I basically, or paraphrased it, said he basically was saying that like you stay on the path and like you just keep going towards the goal, you're gonna eventually get there and succeed.
With confidence.
Yeah.
Right, so if you stay on it and are confident about it and don't quit, you're gonna get further than you think. And then, this was not one of the questions, but I want you to look at it. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under it. What does he mean by that? Yeah.
Basically, you have solidified your dreams, and which are the castles in the air, and now you just need sort of, I guess, validation for why those dreams have been achieved.
Or the hard work that achieved it. Did you hear that? Don't give up on your dreams. They're up here, but you gotta build a foundation under them. You gotta put the work in. I will